I think when you start franchising, you lose the brand. Your whole goal changes as a company. They give the groom Turkish coffee, but with salt in it.
Oh yeah,
it's very very salty. Why? Because if he drinks it,
why does that element, right, that characteristic, why does that not make it to the restaurant?
Hospitality was a cornerstone of everything we did. That was such an important part of who we were as Arabs, as Muslims, as part of our tradition.
And they don't want anything. Now we have the situation where it is really easy to build something, but it is your ability to stay consistent and dedicated and focused and giving your attention. Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And today we're joined with the founder and CEO of Pax Beneficia, Mouyyad Abdulhadi. Thank you so much for joining the Caravan podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Of course, surviving the Texas heat this summer so far.
Just walk over here sweating like crazy.
yeah. It's all in the back for me, personally. But So, we'll kind of, the structure of all this is kind of like a simple conversation, right? So, when I was looking into your background, particularly LinkedIn as the go-to spot, you studied biology. And now you're doing coffee. So I'm curious, what was happening in high school that you were like, I'm going to do biology? What led you down that path?
Yeah, it was one of those immigrant child who wanted to become a doctor stories, right? And that's basically what it was. Like I was going to go to become a doctor. So I was on the pre-med route, did biology through college. And then 3 years into it, I was like, oh crap, like I'm probably not going to go to medical school. So I needed to shift gears real quickly. So then last year, luckily all my bio stuff was done. Too late to switch majors, or it would have been another 4 years in college. So I started taking a bunch of business classes and just trying to figure out what I was going to do, and ended up with a biology degree.
Wow. So I know my brother, I think, went to school with you at UT Arlington.
He did?
Yeah, he was mentioning that I think you guys were in like an intro bio class together or something.
Who's your brother?
Ahmed Hawk.
No way, that's your brother?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, funny enough, this is actually where he lives.
No way.
Yeah. So I was like,
he went to medical school. He's a doctor, right?
Yes, alhamdulillah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
he finished the path, and he actually convinced me to not be a doctor. So, so
do what's best for you. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy. Small world.
Very small world. Because I was telling him, he was like, "Oh, who are you interviewing today?" And I told them like over the phone. He was like, "Wait, no way." And I was like, "Wait, what do you? How do you know him?"
That's awesome.
So I was like, man, because at that point we were living in Texarkana, so we didn't grow up here at all. But did you grow up in Arlington or in the DFW area?
Yeah. I grew up. So my parents moved here in 1989.
Okay.
90, one of those, whatever. Whenever the first Gulf War was just starting.
Oh wow, yeah.
My dad already had a green card here. My brother was already born here, so we moved here. And then lived my whole life in DFW. So we originally, we've been living in the Fort Worth area, like Northern Hills, Mid-Cities area, but all of our time was just spent in Arlington. But Dallas at the time, I mean, it was just like, you're basically 3 masajid, right? Like you had Hewlin and you had Denton, obviously. You had Hewlin in Fort Worth, you had Dar Iman, Dar Salam Center in Arlington, and then you had Richardson, and there was none of this was there. So it's been wild seeing the growth of the DFW as a Muslim capital in the U.S. kind of happened over the last 30 years, 40 years.
When we were in London and when we were telling people that we're from Dallas, the funniest thing that we heard was that we'd say, "Oh yeah, we're from Dallas," and then they would comment and add on, "Oh, the fourth holiest city."
Like, cool your jets, guys.
Yeah. It's not that cool. Let's pump the brakes.
No, it's really crazy seeing the growth. Yeah.
So you have an older brother or a younger brother?
No, I'm the oldest.
You're the oldest.
I have 2 younger brothers and 1 younger sister. She's the youngest.
How is that being, an older brother, but also being the entrepreneur? Because I feel like there's a lot of expectations and pressure. I'm a younger sibling, I kind of saw my brother's shoulders, right?
Yeah.
But was that difficult to navigate, especially as a first generation going into entrepreneurship?
That's a good question. I'd say yes and no. So entrepreneurship didn't come until later in life. So I've always had side projects, side gigs, even through my corporate career. But entrepreneurship didn't really I didn't really quit my job and start working on my own things until 2019. So it was a long time of build up. But when I did that, I think my siblings were like, "Oh wow, this is impressive what you're building." And I think they started seeing okay, there's something here. And then me and my brothers worked together for a while. My sister actually works for Pax now. Like she helps us a lot. Like it's great seeing that side of it. So I would say yes, there's pressure just overall as the oldest in a immigrant household, Muslim household, cultural household. There's a lot of pressure on being the oldest. You pave the way. They follow your example. But it's also your responsibility to help them. So whatever, like it's important. Whatever you choose to do, you think about your family first. As the older brother, just comes natural.
I kind of want to dig a little bit more into that because I think there is so much to unravel there. And the reason being is that I think we all feel pressures in different ways, but particularly in your journey, one of the things that helps entrepreneurs and people as individuals, people believing in us, right? And I think when it comes to I don't want to say stereotype, but I think there is this dialogue that does exist where that sometimes parents aren't excited when when their kids are going, I don't want to say distractions, but these different ventures, right? Outside of the main goal, which is becoming a physician or whatever that objective was. Did you feel that like when you were showing those signs of entrepreneurship, these side projects that you were doing, how did your parents play a role in nurturing that? Or was there a lot of resistance at that time? Like, how did you maintain that relationship in a positive way still?
I don't think my parents knew a lot of what I did on the side. They just thought I had a full-time job, and I don't think we never really talked about it. My parents. I mean, God bless, they tried the best they could, right? Like they didn't go to college, working paycheck to paycheck our entire life, very modest financial background. So for them, anything better than the life they knew was success, right? So the metric for success was, yes, they wanted you to be the best and brightest and get the best of everything, but if they saw that the path was better than if the path they allowed that you followed was better than what they envisioned, then that's all that matters for them. So I don't think they knew a lot of what I did, especially because my background, a lot of it was digital marketing and marketing agencies and all that kind of stuff. And it was just the beginning of like social media as a industry back in 2011, right?
Yeah.
So for them, they hadn't like no idea. Oh, you do Facebook, right? Like, that's all they knew. But they knew I was doing something, and I think that's what they were proud of. And then, obviously, for them, education was very important. So, got my bachelor's, then went back, got my MBA, and I remember my parents cried when I got my MBA because I was like, "Oh, you're a master, like you got your master's. That's a big deal." And then when we opened Pax Beneficia, like my parents were there the night before we opened, helping put together furniture, right? Like for them, it was like it was my parents, my wife, my brother-in-law, my sister, right? Like it was a whole family there just putting furniture together at 10 o'clock at night in Las Colinas, right? Like, and for them, that was a big deal. Right? Like you're opening something, and it wasn't just like some. No offense to everybody else, but like convenience store and a part of the city, right? Like you're building a brand for yourself, and they saw that, and they're so incredibly proud of it.
How did that feel for you, that moment? Like, I mean, because I feel like when you're opening something or when you're releasing something to the public, mine's very minute. I had a automated bubble tea vending machine, right? And I remember the first time I sold a cup to a customer. And now, mind you, this is like a Frankenstein machine robot made out of wood, right? That I hacked together on a Raspberry Pi. And I was like, oh my goodness, someone really paid $8 to get a robot to make bubble tea. And I remember one of my friends helping me set up, and it was like a very like awesome feeling. I'm curious, like for you, when you're there and you're having the entire room being built out and you see your whole family, because I feel like it's such a rush, but did you get a time to like reflect and be like, oh my goodness, this is like, how did that feel knowing your whole family was there supporting you?
I mean, to be honest, I think during it, I wasn't reflecting enough because your entire existence was like, get open, get running, get customers. Like that's what you're thinking about. Like, but now actually it hit me at our 5-year anniversary. Because I was going back, our creative director was asking for old photos that we had, and it was just so he could put something together. And I was going back through those photos on my phone, like all these things, and I was like, oh wow, like I completely, like this is like something that I completely didn't even think about.
Yeah.
And I think that's when it hit me. And it's like, oh my God, like we built something, and it was like the family was all involved, and then it became like, oh wow, like I actually built something my family's proud of, and that's when it finally hit me. That's when it was, oh wow. I do wish I I reflected more during and paused and think about this stuff. But just by virtue of being an entrepreneur and building the building the car while you're driving on the highway at 100 miles an hour, like you just can't.
Building
You
the
can't
ship while
stop.
sailing
Yeah,
it.
building the ship while- whatever analogy or metaphor you want to use, right?
Your method of transportation.
Yeah, the parachute while you're jumping out. Yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Whatever analogy, like you just can't stop and reflect. So
Right.
So having those moments to reflect is very, very important.
Do you find yourself reflecting more now?
Oh yeah.
And do you like what are the methods that you're using now, and do you wish that you had started doing them earlier on?
Yeah. Good question. I do reflect a lot more now. Journaling is something I started recently. I wish I did a lot more. Because when you journal, I think you just take the time to think about everything, and even if it's short blurbs or long form stuff, I wish I did that more. Funny enough, I use ChatGPT a lot to reflect too. Like especially if you give it the right prompt in the right context, it does a really good job of asking those poignant questions that help you really think about it. So that is another thing that helps me. My wife, I bounce a lot off her. She's very wise, and she supported me ever since that night in 2019 when I told her, or 18, I guess it was time. I guess it was 19. But especially the journaling, and I think just finding some ways to reflect. Also solitude, just like being by yourself a lot more. I think that's something that people are generally afraid of these days, especially with like social media and you're always on your phone, you're always connected. Just like putting the phone away and just being by yourself. That's very important. I guess that's probably the number one thing I think. Just being comfortable by yourself and just thinking. And that's helped a lot.
Yeah.
Did you discover that solitude method by happen chance, or was that like, how did that kind of come into your tool set?
I think it just kind of fell in. I guess two parts of it. Like when you own a coffee company, especially like that's very visible in the community, that's part of your identity. Just whether you like it or not, that's part of your identity. So you talk a lot about it. So I think by virtue of that being constantly in your face, you find the opposite to reflect on. And then for me, it was a lot more of those solitude. Like time at the gym, like I'll have headphones in. Even if I see people, I'll just say, let me just keep going, right? Or traveling a lot more. Time on the plane, like time on the plane is very valuable because like you're sitting next to somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
You could talk to them, great, but if you know it, like that's your time. There's either just sit and reflect or just sit and think.
Right.
So yeah, I think by virtue of being having a public facing company and just finding the opposite thing to kind of counterbalance that was how I probably found it.
So you went into college with this idea of wanting to be in the healthcare space, and you kind of mentioned that you made that transition towards more in the business acumen territory near the end of your college career. And you had a corporate career as well, going into marketing specifically. What led you to going down that pivot? Was it just the best option, or was there something else that you kind of noticed within yourself as to what you're good at?
A little bit of both. So I think I'm by nature very curious, and I like a lot of things. Meaning, like if there is something that piques my interest, I dive in right away. I dive in fully, right? Whether it's photography or golf or playing the oud or whatever, right? Like I've had a lot of hobbies over my life, and every one of them I've done a deep dive in until I'm good enough to be like satisfactory for me. And marketing, funny enough, so when I was in college, I had full-time jobs all over, and then the last job I had in college, I was working at Sprint selling phones. This was right before the iPhone launch. So right, like I think it was 2000. I guess 2004 was when the first iPhone launched. 2003. So yeah. So right towards the end of my college years, bachelor's degrees, I was working at Sprint selling phones. And around that time, literally just randomly, a friend of mine was like, "Oh, I'm on Twitter, like talking to all these people from all over the world." I was like, "Oh wow, that's really interesting." So I got on Twitter and I started like seeing who he's talking to, and I started seeing other things and.
And you were 18, 20 at the time? Or
Yeah.
Okay.
It would have been like 21, 2.
Okay.
Yeah. It was still very, very young. And then like read The 4-Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss. Like that was like, I was like, when I first read that book, I was like, oh wow, like this is actually like a really interesting way of thinking about the world. Like, because traditionally all you know is like, this is your job, 9 to 5, you get a paycheck. This is your life path, right?
I was reading Nancy Drew at that time, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, but your life is supposed to go this certain path, and then it takes you a completely different path. And I think a lot of people aren't ready for that path, and a lot of people don't know they have it in them. Production stuff. Yeah. So get on Twitter, start interacting with these different people, and then Tim Ferriss and all this new tech, digital marketing industry stuff that was happening. I was like, wow, this is very interesting. And I think what appealed to me the most from the marketing and digital marketing side was the one-to-many aspect, where as a brand or as a person, you have the ability to build something that a lot of people can read or reflect on or see. And then also this idea of marketing, in that your basically job as a marketer is to build and convey a story about something that people want, convincing them to spend their hard-earned dollars and their time and their attention into that something that you're giving. That's basically what marketing is in a nutshell.
Yeah.
So that really was very interesting, especially somebody that's very curious and had all these hobbies and thinks about a lot and loves traveling and whatever. So it was very interesting how that fits so many buckets of regardless of industry. Everybody this is very industry agnostic, right? Marketing is marketing. So started learning about that, started deep diving there, and then I knew I was like, okay, I can't sell phones and become a marketer. So I remember going to my neighbor's house. Our neighbors, he had a company called World of Wow. His name is Reagan Hillier. Company World of Wow, they basically built children's playscapes for churches. His entire company was built off of that.
It's called World of Wow.
World of Wow. That's the company. He sold his company and he's doing well, mashallah. I
wonder if that was some SEO hacking, because at that time World of Warcraft is booming.
I mean,
right?
possibly, yeah. It's possible. I've never even thought of that. That's probably. And I talked to him about what I want to do, and he was and he was very helpful. He was like, think about this, think about this, think about this. And then he connected me with another friend of his. His name is Randy, and he was building, I could say, a consulting agency, basically a marketing agency, for small businesses. And I remember I worked with him just for $1,000. I quit my job at Sprint, worked with him for $1,000 a month. It was a basic internship, and just learning as much as I can from this guy. And we helped this plastic manufacturer based out of Oklahoma to just market their plastics products, right? One of them was a plastic tee, golf tee, that he designed to be a little bit more forgiving on the ball. Traditional golf tees, the ball sits, but this one sits with 3 prongs, so it's a little bit easier to hit the ball. So theoretically, you get a little bit more distance on it, right? And then another product was a plastic ashtray cup. Because at the time, people were still smoking, right?
So this is really early D2C market. At this
point,
right?
No, it was early. I built a WordPress site. I learned how to build WordPress sites. I built a social media presence for it. I remember I was calling. I downloaded a sheet of these independent gas stations just to call them and be like, hey, we have this product. We'll sell it for this. This is what it retails for. Do you guys want it on your shelves? Yes, send a sample. Yes. I was making those sales calls. And that's what I did for a year, but I knew I couldn't do that forever. So while that was happening, I was like, okay, I need to go back in my MBA. If I'm going to do this, I want some credential behind it, which is the opposite advice I'd give anybody now. You don't need that if you're going to be an entrepreneur. There's other ways you can learn. But then I was like, I didn't know any better. You don't know any better. But in hindsight, it was a good choice for me at the time. This was 2000. Now we're at 2010, 11.
Okay.
Right.
So 9 years before you open your first stores.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you're in your 20s, right? You're 22.
Yeah, I'm in my 20s.
Okay.
Yeah. I got my master's and my MBA at UT Arlington as well.
Yeah.
But that opened a lot of doors, because before that I was working at a marketing agency. But as soon as I got my MBA, I was able to get higher paying, better jobs at these corporations. One of them was AC Pro. It was they designed the do-it-yourself kits for recharging your AC refrigerant, right? If you go to AutoZone and your car needs refrigerant, you just buy one of those kits and you could charge it right away.
Amazing.
We did the whole marketing strategy, digital marketing strategy, social and all that, video production, all that for that. Then I went to work in healthcare. I was at THR for 3 years as head of marketing, head of web CRM and analytics. So digital marketing, doing websites for the practices, all this stuff. Then after that, I worked at Santander Consumer USA as basically director of customer experience, and then had a VP of customer experience, and then had a team of 30 people. Our entire job was responding to customer complaints on social and through these regulatory agencies. So, and then in 2019, quit my job and did two things: opened Pax, and then joined Well Health, my friend's healthcare startup. I was head of marketing there, and obviously Pax, we're opening our first shop.
So obviously, when you're building out, going through this like marketing journey, and you kind of mentioned in terms of reflection, your wife plays a big part of that. When did you meet your wife, and like how was that in terms of how you are as an entrepreneur and things like this, right? Because when you pick your partner, that's a really, I don't say investment, but it's a really big decision, for what the trajectory.
It's the biggest decision in your life, and picking the right partner is either an accelerator or a significant deterrent. I mean, because I've seen both sides. For me, alhamdulillah, it was a big accelerator, because she supported me every step of the way, and she's by nature risk averse. She's a dentist. Right, so her trajectory was very like, I went to school, I went to dental school, I was gonna work, and then it's funny, in 2019 she also bought her own practice after I convinced her. So we bought a practice. And
what's her practice name?
Amaze Dental in DeSoto. It's
okay,
far, but
cool.
it's like everybody else needs a dentist.
We'll tag it.
But yeah, so she bought this practice, I opened Pax, and I quit my job all in that same year. Like, it was a crazy year. But to your question, it's funny. Like, if I didn't have my marketing job, I wouldn't have met my wife. Because I was working at an agency, Splash Media at the time. I was a social media manager, and my first client was MPAC, the Muslim Public Affairs Council. And of course, they'd give the Muslim Public Affairs Council to the Muslim guy that just hired around their social media. So I was working. My point of contact there at MPAC was a girl named Yasmin who lives in DC, and we just like obviously became friends over because we were just working together, building their. At the time, it was to promote their summits. They had a Hollywood summit for people Muslims that wanted to get into the media, and they had a political summit that people wanted to get into the politics and government. And I forgot what the third one was. Maybe it might have been business or something. But talked to her, and then I helped a friend of mine get an internship in in the political summit. So she went to DC, and her and Yasmin became good friends. So flash forward, this was 2011. So flash forward 3 years, I'm telling Ghadir, shout out Ghadir, hey, if you know anybody, whatever, if you're, I'm looking, whatever. And she talks to Yasmin, and Yasmin introduces me to 2 other dentists, I kid you not, from Florida, before I met my third wife, who was a dentist from Florida. And I told Ghadir, I was like, listen, if you give me another dentist from Florida to talk to,
are you trying to say something about my smile?
Yeah. So what are you trying to say here? No, but subhanAllah, that was the decision. That was it. We first conversation. She lived in Florida, I lived in Dallas. 2-year engagement, got married, and she moved here, and alhamdulillah, the rest is history.
Alhamdulillah. What was as an entrepreneur, right? And for our listeners, what do you think were the key characteristics that you were looking for in your potential spouse as that could best amplify your growth?
Really good question. Okay, there's a few, and the whole, I think, and I'll start with this. Your whole image of a marriage should be to counterbalance who you are. So if you don't know who you are, you shouldn't get married. Let's start with that. So for me, as a very risk-tolerant person, as an entrepreneur, who's very interested in a lot of things, who, for lack of a better term, isn't always content, wants to look at the best thing or work on the next thing or keep growing in certain aspects, right? You need somebody that will balance that out, right? Alhamdulillah, my wife is pretty risk averse. She's, I think, more risk tolerant now, but she's pretty risk averse. Whereas I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I leap. I'll if I have an idea, I'll leap and go do it, right? So she needs to be the opposite. Mashallah, she's very content with her life, right? So for her, I'm happy. You do whatever you want. You try whatever you want to try, explore whatever you want to explore, do whatever you want to do. I'm happy with how things are going. I'll be here, right? So that. And the third, I think, thing is having someone that understands who you are as an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurs by nature, again, very inquisitive, very they're very risky. They want to try things, they want to grow things. They get into they get into rabbit holes and they can't get out of, right? And for her, that's the nature of what we are, right? That's and understanding that and having a partner that can pull you out, or can also be blunt with you, be like, hey, that really didn't work out for you that well. Like, you should probably not do that again. And you're like, yeah, right. Those are all things I think that are something you should look for as an entrepreneur, like with a spouse. Either whether you're male or female. Like if you're not female, again, the other side is important too.
No, I think that's so key. I think a lot of times people are looking for a mirror in a partner versus someone who can really shine light on areas where you can grow or counterbalance you, right? But I'm not married, so I wouldn't know.
No,
yeah. It's like you're. Like you said, as an entrepreneur, you're so risky, and it's a lifestyle, right? Like your brain just can't turn off.
Nope.
Like it doesn't matter what you're doing.
Nope.
And so having that companion that can like understand that, hey, I gotta go do something on Saturday morning or Sunday morning or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
It's the small things all the way up to like, hey, I just put this capital into this thing. And she's
That's exactly. And that's happened. So those exact things have happened. So
it's
many
happening
times.
to me right now.
they happen all the time, and she understands it.
Yeah,
I mean, my
exactly.
like we always talk. I always tell her like marriage, and because we talk about other people and like how their marriage, like whether it's family or friends or whatever. Like marriage is like, to me, it's like a seesaw, and you want to keep the seesaw balanced. So you have to have the right counterweight, and you have to know where you are on the seesaw, regardless of what you're measuring. So you have to have the right amount of balance, and that's how you have a successful marriage, I think. Yeah. And not mean, alhamdulillah, not like all marriages have challenges. I'm not saying like ours is perfect by any means, but alhamdulillah, it's good.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
So you mentioned a big characteristic of you being, willing to take risk, right? Mm-hmm. Was that always in your nature, or was that something you kind of matured? And what allows, because I think a lot of entrepreneurs, whether it be Muslim or not, I think sometimes there's that hesitancy. They have the entire business plan, everything. And, you can have the possibility like, hey, 99% likelihood this will actually work out. And then even then people will get to that starting line and then choke. What helps you get past that starting line? Does faith come into it? Is it a combination of things? What helps you nurture that?
Faith is a big part of it. The hadith about tying your camel, obviously, that's a big part of it. I think if you have true tawakkul, like, it doesn't matter what you do, it's all written, right? Rizq is written. The amount you're going to get is the amount you're going to get in whatever way you're going to get it, right? That does help a lot. For me personally, in addition to that, I'd say being exposed to entrepreneurs in other areas of my life and how successful they were probably triggered that in me.
Like working with folks like World of WoW and all
yeah,
these
like those people, and even like my dad's friends, for example, like most of them own their own businesses, right? They either whether it was convenience stores or grocery stores or commercial real estate or car dealerships or whatever, like they own their own businesses and they were successful, mashallah. So it's like in your head, you're like growing up, you're like, maybe there's something there. Maybe it's not, the answer isn't to just start and build start working 9 to 5 and work the rest of your, even the his friends that did have corporate jobs. You could see like when they quit and did their own thing, they were a lot happier and they were doing a lot more stuff, right? And I think that being exposed to that early on was probably it for the entrepreneurship. Now the risk tolerant side specifically, I don't know, for me personally, like it's necessarily the risk tolerance or the risk piece. It's more like I want to do this because I want to see if I can do it, and I want to see what the results are, right? And because you don't know, right? Like when you told me 6 years ago now, Pax is gonna have 7 locations and an e-commerce presence and this big brand, alhamdulillah, like I would have you're like, yeah, right, sure, right? Because at the time we were like one cafe. So you just don't know. I think that's for me was the biggest, like, I want to do this just because I see if I could do it, and then after that we'll see what happens, kind of thing. That's kind of been my approach. Like one of the side projects I did when I was at THR, before I actually worked at THR, she like helped me get the job at THR, which in hindsight I should have stayed working on that project. I built a personal CRM, right? Wow. This was a long time ago. This was like 2000. I worked at THR in 2011, 12. Yeah. No, sorry. I think it was, something like that. So right before that.
Is it because CRMs didn't exist at that time?
No, I was like, I want to build an app because I've never built an app. I was like, let me just see if I could build an app, right? I'm not a coder. So I hired a guy from China off Upwork to build the app. I designed it. Like, it was a very crude design. I need to find it somewhere because it's a great app still. And then, but the app was very simple. It was like, what's a problem that people have? Oh, they don't remember to keep in touch with people. So I literally built a very simple app that reminds you to keep in touch with people daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, yearly. You put in the contact, and then you get a notification, call, email, or text, click the button, and it opens that part of the app. This was like iPhone 4 at the time, 5, 6, I don't know, whatever. And it was a great app. And then that app, I was like, okay, I was able to build the app. Can I market it? People downloading it. I had like 4,000 or 5,000 downloads. Wow. Like, people actually enjoyed the app. It was featured on Lifehacker. I don't know if you guys remember Lifehacker. Like back when it was an impressive publication.
I mean, 4,000 or 5,000 downloads at that time is a lot.
Yeah, no, it was
like the target audience.
Oh, it was
like
paid, by the way. It was 99 cents. Like, it was a paid app. It wasn't even a free app, right? Like, it was. I got some publicity. And in hindsight, I was like, I should have kept going with that, because now it's like personal CRMs are everywhere.
Yeah.
But that app got me into THR, which, alhamdulillah, like, catapulted my career. And it was. But to your point, it was something that I just like. Can I do it? Yes. Did I do it? Yes. And alhamdulillah, like, now I understand how that works. And that's a big part of it for me, is like to do things that so you can understand how they work. Like, even in right now running Pax or whatever, I wouldn't ask my team to do anything that I don't understand how to do themselves. Whether it's running the e-commerce side or ordering from a vendor or managing inventory, because I was the one that did all that in the beginning. So anything new that comes up, I at least want to understand it. And then like even Amazon, like, we're about to put our startups on Amazon. I did it on my own Amazon. Like, I just like, well, can I get a product from Alibaba? Can I list it? Can I sell? Like, what are the nuances there for the process? And I did, alhamdulillah. Now I understand generally, like, not as much as like a person who lives and breathes Amazon DTC their entire life, but at least I understand generally the framework, and that's kind of where that risk part comes in. Like, can I do it? Can I understand it? Can I?
I love that consistency, though, right? Because I think in your foundation, you kind of have this net of trust in Allah, right? And I think the consistency part is that what really fuels all these things, because you're kind of talking about all these channels of things that need to do in your business, whether the e-commerce or running the front, cashier register, all these things. You have expertise in all those things, but that's all kind of driven by your underlying element of curiosity. That's kind of always been within you since college, right? And kind of trusting that process as well. I want to kind of circle back here. You went from this process of going from, at this point, you've done marketing gigs, you've had a lot of growth, you've have your partner as well, and now you're opening the doors for Pax. Did you go, you have a partner, a business partner, right? How did you find them? And was the process of finding that business partner similar to finding, your spouse even, right? It's sometimes people say relationships like that can be very similar, right? What was that journey like in terms of finding the right co-founder?
For me, it was very serendipitous. Me and Mamdouh met through actually a wife's friend's wedding. Like, we just randomly, we met and encountered each other and hit it off. We became good friends, went on a couple of trips together, and then we went on a couple's trip to Norway and Sweden. And
how old were you at that time?
This was in 2018.
2018, okay.
So 33, I guess? 32?
Okay.
Yeah. So literally on the train ride from Stockholm to Oslo, because Scandinavian coffee culture at the time was ahead of anything else in the world, in my opinion. Right? Wow. Now I think the rest of the world's caught up. Maybe certain parts exceeded it, but Scandinavian coffee culture was ahead of anybody else, including the United States. So a part of the itinerary was a bunch of coffee shops, obviously, because we both loved coffee shops at the time, and beyond just the good coffee itself, for me the experience is what I love about coffee shops, and to me it was a way to explore a city. Because you're in the hipster part of town because these are the type of coffee shops there. Yeah. You're in the wealthy part of town because these are the coffee shops there, and that's how I explore a city. So that was a part of the itinerary. And then on that train ride, literally it was an overnight train ride. We just started talking. Oh, one day I'd open a coffee shop. It was always a dream of mine. And then he's like, "Yeah, I'd love to open one day too." And we just started talking, and it was one of those things that. It was just like, oh yeah, this is a great idea. Oh, yeah. And fell asleep, and then he taps me on the shoulder and he's like, I got the name for it. And he says, Pax Beneficia. I said, okay, what does that mean? He said, it's Latin for peace and blessings. And I was like, yeah, that's perfect. So can I go back to sleep? And I go back to sleep. So we went back to sleep, and then then after that we're like, okay, we knew the concept, what the concept was going to be, and then from there, messaging each other menus or places we'd go, because he lived in Ohio. Still lives in Ohio.
Oh, okay.
And then I remember visiting we had friends visiting, and we took him to the Las Colinas area, and it was just like I think 2 or 3 places that were open. I think one was Curry Mystery ice cream. And I called him. I was like, "Hey, I think I found the perfect location. You really want to do this? Like, you ready?" And he said, "Yeah, let's do it." And that was it. That was it. And yeah, here we are.
I think it's when you find the right person, things are really easy.
Oh yeah.
Right? It just flows into it. And this is a theory of mine. I want to get it validated. Okay. So Pax Beneficia, peace and blessings.
Yeah.
Any origin, any tie to being Salaam Alaikum?
No.
Okay,
that
cool.
is the
cool.
100%.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
It is. That is the part of the Muslim greeting.
Okay.
And our whole goal with that was like, okay, how to even from the concept is we wanted to inject our traditions, our faith, our cultures, but be very, very subtle about it, because we wanted to be open for everybody, and we don't want people to come in and feel like, oh, what is do I fit here? So it was very, very from day one, that was the intent of it, right?
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so you've kind of always been in this as a coffee fan, right? And you guys are going to all these places, and you mentioned it's a couples trip, right? So were both of y'all's wives okay having this much coffee, or did you guys go on side quests while they were doing their own thing, or are you guys all coffee fanatics?
No, a little bit of both.
Okay.
They were fine. They were fine, and they understood. If they didn't want, they're like, "Oh, I'm good. I just want water or something, right?"
This is our 4th cup now.
No, they were
This is our
good.
6th place.
No, I think by that time, I think it was our 2nd trip together, and because we also went to Turkey after that too. And I think by that time they were used to us. They were like, "Yeah, whatever. You guys do whatever you want." They're not. But I remember in the while we were having the conversation on that train ride, they were both looking at each other like, "What is happening right now? Are you guys what is going on?" And then subhanAllah, here we are.
So when it comes to starting your own business, right? A lot of people, and I think it's important to talk about on how we strategize and how to do these things. Starting a coffee business is not cheap, right? It takes a lot of investment. I know when I was doing the bubble tea space, I think the average cost to open up a shop was around $250,000, which is a lot. Well, opening coffee, I imagine, is probably in the similar ballpark. Did you guys, and at this point, both of you guys are kind of mature in your careers. I assume you've saved up enough. Did you guys lean into that? Did you guys do an SBA loan? How did you guys navigate those dialogues?
No, it was all self-funded initially. Self-funded. We took on a few family and friends, investors, just to be a part of it, but it was mostly me and him.
How would you advise Muslim entrepreneurs who are kind of in that difficult position where they're like, man, I can't raise any money, or I'm not saving enough, and they may feel tempted as an option to an SBA loan? How did you and your business partner navigate those dialogues together, right? Of deen and dunya and all these kind of complications, because I think for younger entrepreneurs, they sometimes feel funneled into it's the only option or it's the safer option, and they see all these other examples, kind of how you're talking about seeing your dad's friends and colleagues who have their businesses. But sometimes for us, we may not have that. We may only see Western entrepreneurs, and they all have that story of either a really rich dad or uncle, or they took a loan and they made that bet. Could you kind of walk us through that process of kind of giving hope to future entrepreneurs and being steadfast
in the context of avoiding riba, not taking loans, or okay.
Or was that a dialogue that you and your partner had?
No, we knew we didn't want to take any loans right off the bat. I mean, we were very. It's funny, we were saying we're very frugal then, but now we're a lot more frugal on how we invest our money. But that is very tough. That is very tough. And the safer option is to find investors, but you also have to be very careful there, because you have to find the right investors, right? So if you can't save up and have enough, I think, runway for a year's worth of whatever that business is, don't do it until you save it up. If you want to avoid the loan, right? Now, I think, alhamdulillah, there's a lot more avenues for Muslim entrepreneurs to get funding without having to go a traditional bank or a interest-bearing loan. There's a lot of generous VCs out there. There's a lot of generous just angel investors out there. that are investing in multiple industries, like Friday Ventures, for example. We talked about them offline. Provision Capital here in Dallas, right? Like there's a lot of people that are willing to help this next growth of entrepreneurs with very, very favorable terms. Like the right investor will want the entrepreneur to succeed, and that's very important. Look, I'm not an imam, I'm not a sheikh. Like if you do choose to go the SBA or traditional loan route, like I'm not judging you. That might be a good solution, especially if your intention is to pay it off as fast as possible and get out of it, and whatever money you make, you're gonna give to charity. Like that's between you and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm not judging it. You know what? That might be the right place at the right time, but also depends, I think, very, very heavily on what industry you're starting out in. Right? Like if you're building a SaaS product and you only need investing to just get the word out and start marketing and pushing ads out, that's probably easier than going and opening a coffee shop at like 5 to 10% margins, right? So I think understanding what industry you're in, understanding the real costs of opening it, understanding what your runway is, and then growing it from there.
Do you feel like when you're going into this endeavor, right? And I appreciate you sharing that, because I think sometimes people feel like they don't have options when there's actually a lot of options to making it into reality. When it comes to starting your first location, especially in the consumer market, right? It's your margins are super thin. Your chance of surviving is very low. And of course, you did it in the perfect time of opening because COVID-19 was just around the corner.
6 months after.
Yeah.
You started it 6 months before COVID?
Wow. August 19th, 2019 was when we first opened.
Okay.
What a
August 23rd. Sorry, not August 19th. August 23rd, 2019. Okay.
So what were like some of the challenges? I mean, that's obviously a major challenge in itself, but like, how did you approach that, right? Like,
man, that happened. That was just, because I remember the night before, so Mamdouh had actually come in town the weekend before everything shut down.
Wow.
So, and we launched our toast products literally that Sunday before COVID. And this was the first time we tried food. And I remember that night when I think everybody was watching probably like the Denver Nuggets game, Rudy Gobert was touching all the microphones, and then that's now in history books. And the next day, literally everything shut down. For us, it was like, okay, now what do we do? So I remember, because at the time we didn't even have online ordering set up, right? Because we were gonna be like, hey, this is a specialty coffee shop. We're not doing online ordering. We're not doing Uber Eats. Like you come in, you order. Like this is a specialty coffee shop. And we had to shift gears right away. So I remember the next day I went in and I basically built our entire online ordering system from scratch. Like literally that day, I was like, okay, we need this ASAP. Like Square online ordering, blah blah blah. It's ready. Okay, good. And but there were it was subhanAllah at the time. I think you're going through it, you don't realize, but I think at the time it was actually a blessing for us because it was 6 months into us opening, and I'm not I've never opened a coffee shop before. I've never opened an F&B business before. Like this stuff is really hard, and you don't know what you don't know. So in a way, it was a blessing because it allowed us to reset. So now I know what bare bones looks like for a coffee shop.
I have 6 months of experience, data and information, and then hey, now we have to repivot or figure out.
Now we know what zero looks like, right? So what is the minimum number of people you need? What are the real cogs you need to buy? What are the real needs you need to do your menu? What are some things you can sell and not sell? Alhamdulillah, in those 6 months too, where we had built a really good brand. So a lot of our revenue didn't go down to zero; it went down to 30%, right? So we lost 70% of our revenue. But alhamdulillah, there was still something coming in. And at the time, I think everybody was getting some sort of help from either landlords or if you had a good landlord, alhamdulillah, we did. We had a good relationship with them because we were never late. All that stuff's important. Also, the PPP loans, all the idle loans, right? And those did help. Those did help. And then, but as soon as the restrictions were lifted, alhamdulillah, we bounced back fairly quickly. And we opened our second location during COVID still. February 21 was when we opened our Fort Worth location. And we knew, it was one of those conversations, we knew it was going to end at some point. Just didn't know when. And but it was a good location. We just took it and went with it.
So let's back up a little bit. So within the first 6 months, you mentioned that you established this brand that was known and recognized. How did you do that? Like, what were some of the tactical things that really made you stand out as a specialty coffee shop? There's a lot of different options out there, but what did you guys specifically do to?
So this was, going back, this was 2019 into 2020. So still in the Dallas market, there weren't as many coffee shops as there were now. Like there wasn't this boom that there is now. So at the time, there was only a handful of really specialty coffee companies at the time. So for us, I mean, it was a mixture of luck and Allah's blessing and just us like being very intentional about what we're doing. So we were very, very particular about everything we had on the menu, and we were very particular about the experience we wanted. We were going to be a higher end coffee shop. We were gonna choose. We had Mayor at the time, and for us at the time, it was one of the better coffee options that we because it was before we started roasting, right? So we tried like 5 or 6 of them, and that was like the one that we stuck with. But we also weren't afraid to experiment during those times. Like I think we changed our menu like at least probably once a month, just to figure out what worked and what didn't. All that was like your offering is good, but what people remember most is how you make them feel. I think what's that, the Oprah quote, I think. Or
Yeah.
Our hospitality was a cornerstone of everything we did. So if because that was such an important part of who we were as Arabs, as Muslims, as part of our tradition. And without being overt, right? We were very, very subtle. Like people would come in and they didn't know we were Muslim owned, right? And then now, I mean, we're never shied away from it, obviously.
Yeah.
We never hid it, but people didn't know. And now you go in and it's probably 90% non-Muslims that come, right? It's subhanAllah, like it's crazy. But that's the hospitality that we've built, and that was a big, big part of everything we did. And I think because of that, we started having regulars right away. And choosing the location was also important. Like there was a lot like that we lucked into it now in hindsight, alhamdulillah. But for that 6 months, it was a lot of that stuff.
So as a business owner that's trying to, like, you've identified like, hey, hospitality is super important. How your customer feels is like a critical function of like if they're going to come back, and if there's barakah there, honestly. So is there like a systematic or metric driven way, or did you like try to like instill like some training with your staff? Like what were some of the tangible things that you found that were helpful, and how did you like think about those types of problems?
I was leading by example a lot of that first 6 months. Like I was in there like engaging with the guests on the register, and they'd see how I interact. And I guess from a quantitative metric, it's like repeat purchase. Like repeat purchase is your number one driver. And that first 6 months, I think we had like 60 to 70%. And I think
really high.
I still think now, where I think as a company, we're still like at probably 50-60% repeat, right? That at least once in the first year they've come back, or first 6 months. I forgot I have to go back and check, but it is still very high. But there are certain like non-negotiables that I had from day one. For example, if somebody isn't satisfied with their drink, no questions asked. Like you just like there's no questions. Like just they come up and we remake it. If they ask questions about the menu or something we don't offer, it's not a no. It's a guiding to an alternative, right? And those are things that we just trained over time that were very important for hospitality. And to me now in hindsight, like that's probably the part of all of this journey that really appealed to me most. I love good coffee. I love the artistry behind it. I love the science behind it. But for me, what appeals to me more is what this coffee represents. And there's a lot of coffee shops opening, and I don't think people really like take a second to understand why they're opening coffee shops. For me, it's because this allows us to have this conversation. If I didn't open Pax Beneficia, we wouldn't be having this conversation over this cup of coffee, right? And that's what it ultimately represents. Coffee has historically, since the beginning of when it was discovered and started going through the Middle East and through Europe, it was a means for communication and a means for people to gather.
It's very ceremonial, right? Like even in
there, yeah.
Ethiopian coffee, right? I remember one of my friends is Ethiopian when I was over at his place. Like it's a gathering. It's a process for everyone to sit down and enjoy something together, right? And it does open up. And similarly, like ceremonial like tea processes in Japan or in Korea, it creates that level of relaxing, winding down, and then communicating, right? One of the things that I play games, right? One of the things that right now I'm playing Assassin's Creed Shadows, which is in Japan. And one of the things I thought was so incredible because they're going through a proper ceremonial matcha, and it's the same bowl, and they all drink from it. And as you pass it to the next person, you're supposed to turn it towards them so when they put their lips.
Kid.
Huh?
That was
it?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that's so like important of like how just a simple beverage can bring people together, right? Yeah. So one of the things that you're kind of mentioning with like hospitality, and I remember that the quote from Maya Angelou. I was like, probably like, who's that from?
Oh yeah,
yeah. And but one of the things, hospitality, really, really important, and making sure people feel special and remembered. One of the things, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's like with Four Seasons, right? Every person in Four Seasons, like I think anybody who works there get like a budget of like $2,000 to make sure the customer feels special per month, right? I think having that mindset is so important because you're really looking at the customer beyond than just this one instance, right? You want them to come back because you want them to be part of your brand, part of your identity as well. What made you get that standard? Like what, like, was it your experience in Norway when you're like going through this that you kind of noticed that, or is it your culture? Like what kind of tied all that in?
For us, I think it was mainly driven by our childhood and our culture. Because hospitality in our traditions is very, very important, as we all know, right? Like it's very, very important. And there's a lot of examples in the Sunnah about hospitality, and then the Sirat Sahaba about hospitality, and like we just talk about that excessively, right?
Yeah.
But I think the biggest thing I hate to hear, and I don't know if you guys feel this way or not, but when you hear about a Muslim establishment and people say, "Oh, the service isn't good, but the food is really good." Or like, oh, you're like, I cringe inside because like, why? It's a Muslim establishment. Like, it's part of who we are as a tradition. Right. Hospitality is a core part of who we are. So for me, and I think Mamdouh can probably speak the same thing, is it was always a part of our tradition, right? Like at the end of, like when you're sitting and your mom and dad's friends are over, it's 11 o'clock at night and they're about to go, and your mom says, no, the coffee is on the pot, is boiling, right? Like, and then they'll go prepare Turkish coffee and bring it at 11 o'clock at night because you want them to stay another hour or two, and because the conversation is that good. That's hospitality, right? Even like to your point about traditions, when you go ask for a girl's hand and you're sitting, and the girl comes out and like she's serving coffee. And how she serves coffee, like back in the day, they used to like the mother-in-law would look at how she assess like this is a good girl or not, right? I mean, now it's different. And then actually recently, funny enough, like I was just in Lebanon for my brother's engagement, and this is something they do, which is actually really funny, and I didn't know about it. So in their in Lebanese Arabic culture, they give the groom the Turkish coffee, but with salt in it. Oh yeah, it's very, very salty. Why? Because if he drinks it, that means that is like anything she serves after that will taste better than that coffee, right?
So lower your expectations.
Yeah, that's like, and if he doesn't drink it, then he's not going to be patient, and like that's hospitality, right? Yeah. Like that's what this coffee is about. That's what how we treat people is important. It's also a form of dawah.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing. Hospitality is a form of dawah, and alhamdulillah, like in our first year, we had a barista convert.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Like so, if nothing else good comes out of that, and because of like who we were, who we worked, how we treated her. I was at her wedding. Like it was incredible. She married a Palestinian brother, right? Like it's incredible. Like like what happened out of that. But that all comes back to hospitality, and hospitality is how you treat people, whether they work for you or they're coming as honored guests. And that's a term we use internally. We use the term honored guests. We don't say customers. We don't just say guests. We say honored guests because it goes beyond just them coming in. You want to honor them, right? By that they've chosen to spend their hard-earned dollars and their time at your establishment, so they're honored guests, right? And I don't think it's and people I think make the mistake of thinking that hospitality is only for like F&B, right? It's not just hotels, it's not just restaurants, it's not boba shops. Hospitality extends to every industry. So any entrepreneur out there who's listening to this, make hospitality a cornerstone of what you're doing, and the customers will come. Whether it's a SaaS product, or it's an AI product, or it's a restaurant, or it's a lawn mowing business, whatever you want to build, make hospitality and treating those honored guests a certain way. That will pay dividends because there's barakah in it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit something so core, foundational, and I really want to expand on that because, and I think as you're kind of talking about, I'm reflecting a little bit on, I don't want to say hypocrisy, but it is a little bit hypocritical, right? Because when you come into cultures that are known to be some of the most like hospitable, right? Even on YouTube vloggers or things like that, it is always like South Asia or the Middle East. It's always these like Muslim countries, right? And this is more of like you thinking about it. I'm kind of curious as to what you think why this is. Whenever we go to anyone's home that's Muslim, generally, right, or friends who are non-Muslim go, they always leave this sense like, oh my goodness, they're like gave me constant food, super hospitable. Why does that element, right, that characteristic, why does that not make it to the restaurant, to a lot of these businesses? What switches do you think happens?
I think people just forget why they're doing it, and they forget the reason they're doing it, and they forget. And I think there is this form of like, I don't want to say greed or miserliness or whatever adjective, but I feel like when certain people are in business, they forget those values because it's business.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, actually, in fact, that's where you should probably go above and beyond in
Like
those
double
values.
down.
Double down on those values and show them. Because that same person that might be behind the cashier grumpy, at home, he'll be the most cheerful and the most welcoming and hospitable person you'll ever meet. But I just think they forget that, and people like to say business isn't personal; it's just business. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's crap. Like, business is personal. Business is people.
Yeah.
And when people forget that it's people behind the business, that's when bad things start happening.
Right. One of the things that I kind of remembered, when I was doing technical sales at IBM, right? And I'm glad that you even brought up like hospitality and like SaaS, right? Like how I approach a customer, how I speak to them, how I check in on them, like even when I'm not doing business, just reaching out, saying hi, how's the family, it goes such a long way. And I don't even want people to come in with the mindset of like, oh, I'm going to get a cash out or payback from this. No. Leave that behind. Focus purely on just being a good person, right? How does it feel when someone just randomly checks on you that you haven't heard from a long time and they don't want anything, right? It means a lot to you. So why not be the vehicle of being that feeling for someone else? And I think what you've kind of expressed really encompasses that. Beyond serving coffee is just like being human and how can you be better at that. And I do agree with you a lot on business is personal, right? This business is feeding your family. This business is part of your zakat, right? There's all these elements. It is very much personal. And so I think sometimes we diminish accountability on our own selves when we're doing business improperly because we're putting it under this like facade of saying, oh, it's not personal.
Yeah. And it's perfect.
Yeah.
The Prophet like a friend of mine always likes to remind me that the Prophet built Islam one person at a time.
Yeah.
Right? Like it was one person at a time, and he knew every single person in the community.
Yeah.
And here we are. Like who are we to deny that success? So why are we trying to be different? The recipe's there, right? So understanding that people are behind it and connecting with people is the reason we should be in business, and that's how Islam grew.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it is one person at a time, right? And I think that's we lose the so much about Islam is tawheed, right? Just one. Allah, is one, right? And in terms of why do we diminish the impact of our own effort on one person, right? I mean, your brand and your vehicle was a vehicle for someone to join this deen. That one is worth all of it.
All of us.
Right? All
we
of
shut
it.
down tomorrow. And
like, alhamdulillah.
Yeah.
One of the things I'm kind of, curious to hear from you is when it comes to, leading people in spaces like this and while being Muslim, how is that, right? Especially, you're Palestinian, right? And so obviously what's happening in Gaza, and may Allah give them liberation. how does that kind of play into your decision making, working with non-Muslims? I mean, you've kind of mentioned previously in your journey working with non-Muslims and Muslims, like almost like a mentor-like relationship with a lot of these non-Muslims, which I think is great to have. But how, as a leader now, as a Muslim leader within your business and within the community in some sense, right? How do you navigate that in terms of working with other non-Muslims?
So there's two parts to that. I think one, if you're building, it depends on what brand you're building, right? For us, Pax from day one was a neutral brand. We were never gonna talk about politics. We're never gonna talk about religion. We're never gonna talk about, like, Pax Beneficia as a brand stands for peace and blessings. Yes, the roots are in the Islamic reading, but as a brand, it stands for bringing peace and blessings to the community we're in, right? Through coffee and our coffee shops we built and our hospitality, etc. So that's something early on, because I mean, like, you see all these brands that that start talking about politics and
like Pride Month and all these other political elements
and all this stuff, and it just becomes your brand, right? Like, I don't think brands should be talking about that stuff personally. I think brands are brands. People pay money because you either have a good product, and they pay money because they believe in what your brand does, not necessarily the people behind the brand believe in. And that's what people forget. There's people behind the brand that are actually pushing this stuff out. So for us, Pax Beneficia was always a neutral brand. However, doesn't mean that I, as a CEO and as a co-founder, can't instill our values in it. Right? So as a brand, for example, like, we've never talked about Hizza. We've never talked about anything, right? Privately, I can do whatever I want, right? And we've supported a lot of foundations, and they've come in and they've done stuff in our cafes, and we don't have to promote it, right? Like, I also really, really believe in, like, the right hand shouldn't know what the left hand is donating, or what the hadith, right? So we don't have to be public about it. We do our own thing, and that's okay. Also, like, how we have a lot of people from various backgrounds that work for us, and I'm not here to judge anybody. I'm not here to say yes or no. I'm not here to say anything. But for us, we don't have a Christmas tree on our during the holidays, right? We don't celebrate Easter we don't do Easter traditions, right? Like, these are things as a brand we also don't do, because that's not part of who we are. So
just being consistent.
Yeah, we're just consistent with everything, and alhamdulillah, that's helped, right? Privately, I could do whatever I want, right? And I think that's the key there. And I'm allowed to, and I can, and I've done a lot, alhamdulillah. And I am launching something tangential that is gonna solve that for me personally, because as Pax Beneficia, again, we've made that decision. We had to keep that decision going, and that's what worked for us. So if I want to talk about Hizza, I need a different outlet or a different help, and I've helped other organizations. So there's other things that you can do there. Is it easy? No. Especially when I'm Palestinian and I want to use my platform, because, like, we have almost 40,000 followers, right? Like, but at the same time, that's the line we chose, and we have to stick to it. If we change now, then we have to change with everything. And regardless of whatever other political, religious issues come up in the next 10 years in our existence, we have to talk about everything, though. So I'd rather stay away from all of it. Because personally, even before all of this, as a brand, I don't think brands should get involved. Unless you're a brand that was built on that thing, right? Then go crazy, right? Like, if you're a Muslim Palestinian brand, then if you're not talking about it, then there's something wrong with your brand ethos, right? But if you're a brand built on being neutral and open to everybody, then you should probably stick to that line.
Yeah, I think it's having those founding principles and not capitulate, right? But letting that be a motive to maybe start something else where you can nurture that, right? And keeping those entities separate. And honestly, when I think about, you brought up, like, Christmas tree, right? I remember when, like, I still kind of feel, I mean, I'm born and raised here, and I don't know if it's weird to say I feel uncomfortable, but when I do go to places and it's, like, not my holiday, I feel a little weird, right? And so having kind of a space that does stay consistent through and through on everything gives you a sense of a welcoming feeling. One of the things I want to talk about is also competition, right? This is a heavily competitive space. How do you navigate that, right? Like, what do you, I mean, there's Starbucks, there's obviously, and so many others out there, but what kind of helped you when you were going into it, being like, okay, we're definitely going to stand out. We're definitely going to be different.
Ooh, this is a good one. And I feel very strong about this one. Because, like, there's, like, one's opening, I feel like every week now, there's somebody opening. So I think for us, we opened, I think, at the right time. And we scaled at the right time. If I was to open now, or somebody tell me that we'll open a coffee shop now, I'd say don't do it. Because I don't think it's a suitable business model, and I think the bubble is going to burst at some point. When, Allahu Alam, and may Allah protect everybody who's invested and has opened them, but I do think the bubble is going to burst. There's a lot of external factors, I think, that impact that. Consumer spending, tariffs, all this stuff, that if you're not an established brand that has that economies of scale, you will be affected. So for that, like, I do think the bubble is going to burst.
Because you kind of got in right before like Arwa and a lot of these other like Yemeni coffee shops.
Yeah, we were. I think he hasn't opened. I forgot when he opened. It was Ramadan, I think, 3 years ago or 2 years ago. But yeah, we were. So we had already our fourth location open by then, right? So before all the Yemeni coffee shops, I think Arwa was the first in DFW, I think, and then everybody else started opening. For us, I think the other thing is we've stuck to our brand, right? Like we're not like we don't have any chai in our coffee shops. Funny enough, the first year we actually had karak chai, like because like the Qatari version we built, but we didn't do that long. It was like short lived. But I say competition now is if you have an established brand, you're good. If you're starting out your brand, good luck. It's hard. I think for us, like I don't really think about like Starbucks is different. Like I wouldn't put it as a competition, honestly, just because it's a different
experience
mindset.
and everything. Yeah.
If you're going to Starbucks, you're not going to specialty coffee companies.
Right.
Now, where our industry, like I think specialty coffee becomes interesting is who you're targeting. Like if you're targeting the matcha drinking Gen Z millennial, like that kind of vibe, that's different than the actual specialty coffee. We've kind of towed the line between both. Because we are still very much specialty coffee. Like we source, we roast, like it's very, very much intentional. But we do have fun drinks. Like we just launched a frozen matcha, right? Like Like, but nobody else does frozen matcha here in Dallas, right? So that's kind of things. So I think from a competition perspective, we've always tried not to follow trends, but adapt trends for our brand. How do we make it the Pax way that is more intentional and more, even if it's slow, even if it's delayed, even if it's different, like what does that look like for us? And alhamdulillah, it's worked out so well so far.
So you kind of mentioned that like hospitality is a super important portion of like Pax Beneficia's mission, vision, and experience, right? And clearly quality is as well, right? So can you like talk a little bit about like how you invest, like what does that, like how you invest in quality? Is that like from the sourcing of the beans to the type of equipment and machinery that you have? Can you maybe speak a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, so I'll start from the hiring process, right? Because I think that's the most important part of it all. Because if you don't have the right people that are managing and they're running your stores, then it doesn't matter what kind of hospitality or program you want, like it's not going to work. So we do pay on the higher end on the scale in the industry, and probably going to increase it soon just because it's time. And we haven't shied away from that, and that allows us to get better people in and better managers to help us execute our vision. Now, when it comes to the quality of the product itself, our coffee, we do spend a little bit higher on coffee than your average normal coffee shop.
The coffee beans themselves.
The coffee beans themselves, the green coffee. Because we want better tasting coffee. That's just what it comes down to. Could we go a different route and start doing more blends and cheaper coffees that 99% of people who come through our doors won't care and they'll just still drink it and still order it? Yes, but that's not who we are as a company, and that's okay. Our syrups are all made in-house.
Wow.
Right? So that's, well, not all, except our chocolate, sugar-free vanilla, and caramel, because they're just hard to make. But the rest, all made in-house, right? So that, and it's all like our vanilla is Ugandan vanilla beans, right? Like, so, because we didn't want to shy away from quality there. And that's just something we won't compromise on. Now, if you ask me in 5 years and we're in 100 locations across the DFW and we're or across the nation and it's a different company, then yeah, maybe at that point would be different. But right now at our stage, we are very much a specialty coffee company, and we do care about quality. And because of that quality and because of people are paying a higher, they deserve to get treated better. and have a better product, not for the sake of the bottom line.
Well, how do you measure how do you define and measure quality of coffee beans, for example?
Yeah.
Because that's kind of obviously you can to some degree, but there's some preference that's involved in there.
Yeah.
How do you kind of gauge that?
How do you make this subjective objective?
Right. Because do you do surveys with customers? Do you try them out? Is it just more
our
like
team,
yourself?
Our team does a lot of that. Like a coffee scored, right? Like anything above 80 is specialty, so that's where we stay above that. So that stuff is solved by the industry. Now at our company level, our team does all the sourcing. And you have a team of 5 people that sit there and pick the coffees. It's not just one person.
No.
And together they pick it. Whether it's the director of coffee and the coffee trainer and the director of they're all there. I'm not even involved in those conversations because, frankly, my palate isn't as trained as their palates. So I shouldn't be the one choosing which coffee because I wouldn't know, right? I could tell you now which coffee is good, which one's bad, but I shouldn't be making the decision for the entire company on what's good or what's bad. And I think that's a key distinction. In other companies, I think people either do blends or they get cheaper coffees. They still might be specialty, but they're cheaper coffees. Or they mix them with other cheaper coffees that make it. And look, again, 99% of people don't care, right? And even for us, right? I know I'm not going to make 100% of people happy. People probably don't like our coffee. A lot of people probably don't, and that's okay too, right? It's a very subjective thing, and if you're spending your money and your time, I really hope you go to a place that you like and not necessarily just waste it, because it's the cool thing to do. Our matcha, for example, matcha's the trend now. A year or 2 years ago, we switched to Nekohama. It's a small farm out of I know the owner personally. It's their family farm out of Japan. We were introduced to him, and he came and he tasted it. I don't even like matcha, but I tasted his matcha. His matcha tasted better than other matchas. And yeah, all the ceremonial grade, whatever stuff that is not everybody's saying, but nothing is going to taste better than a guy whose entire livelihood is off that family farm, right? Let's be real. And we switched to that matcha, and we're still using that matcha. So that's why, yes, quality, I think, is subjective, but there are certain things that you have in place, like how you choose your coffee, how you add it, how you dial it in every day, the people that are behind the bar that are dialing it in every day. And we're dealing with people, not robots. So there might be variance in quality every day. And we're a specialty coffee company. If we were not, we'd have automatic machines everywhere that all they do is press a button and that's all they do. But no, our team, for a lot of our drinks, they dial our espresso every day, multiple times a day, because it changes.
Well, the details add up, right? And I worked at a high-end sushi restaurant for about 5 months, and sushi ultimately is 3 or 4 ingredients, right?
Yeah.
And so, but each of those ingredients are even more important to be at its absolute best.
And where they get the fish from,
exactly.
And how soon the fish comes in.
How well is the rice made? Every detail weighs
Yes.
in, and I think when you're making a beverage that's just not doused in sugar, right?
Yeah.
You will start noticing the difference, the minute notes. And I think it's always good to build for a niche.
And that's what
for the super fans.
Yep.
Because if they can evangelize your message, because to your point with matcha, you don't like matcha, but you know this guy who does matcha really well. So you can be like, hey, I don't know much about matcha. I don't like matcha, but here's a dude who does. So he can vouch for it.
100%.
Right? And I think for someone who is a matcha fanatic, they'll lean on that
100%.
and they'll go about it that way.
100%. And that's something I've always told my team is, listen, again, 95% are ordering flavored lattes and they don't care.
Yeah.
But the 5% or even less who are ordering a pour over or a shot of espresso, better make sure that pour over is perfect and that espresso is dialed in, because they're the ones that will care.
They're the VIP
and they're the ones you need to impress.
Yeah. One of the things that, when it comes to growing your business, right? Mashallah, Allahumma barik, may Allah give you many more locations, but going from 1 to 5 then to 7 now, you're privately held, right? Is that the goal? Have you guys considered a franchise model? I think Arwa is going the franchise model. What, how did you navigate that decision?
Yeah, we chose early on we're not going to do franchising. I think when you start franchising, you lose the brand, and then your whole goal changes as a company. Yes, did I probably lose millions of dollars in franchises because I missed the boat? Probably, but alhamdulillah, like doesn't really bother me because even our 7th, 8th, 10th location, it's going to be owned by us and it's going to be ran by us and it's going to be very particular how we do things. As much as franchisees like to think that or franchisors, I guess, think that they own, like they can be very particular about the quality and the standards, it's not going to be the same as a corporate owned company, especially a small company coming out. Unless you're McDonald's, where everything is like, this is the book and everything is standardized.
Or Chick-fil-A.
Yeah, like where everything is standardized, you're still dealing with a coffee company that dials espresso, that pours syrup and even within our 8 locations, we can't get it consistently 100% of the time. 7 locations, 100% of the time. But we can try our best. So you're telling, I still don't believe a franchise is going to do that better. And again, I think your goal changes. That you just want to build as many franchises as you can. But for us, for me, I'd rather make sure the 7 are running really well and people are happy and they're growing than have 100 locations right now.
I mean, it seems like you're really navigating on what can maximize your level of like ihsan or your excellence in the craft that you're doing, right? And I think when you're going the franchise model, it's very difficult to maintain that level of consistency. Whereas being private, you get way more autonomy to do it. Sure, you may move slower, but you're moving way more accurately, right? One of the things I'm kind of curious about is that when it comes to your future, right? You've at this point, it seems like you kind of have a really solid playbook on how to open a spot, find a spot, train a team, boom, 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 right? What's, you're also a tech guy, right? I mean, even beyond your biology background, marketing, underlying all of this, WordPress, digital marketing, you're a technologist at core, right? And I feel like you really tapped into that when COVID happened and you're having to go digital with your sales. What's this next chapter that you're working now with Commissary?
Yeah. Oh, that's I'm really excited about this one. Because I mean AI, I think everyone had their moment like oh my god, the world just changed.
Yeah.
So for me it was like when that happened, I was like, okay, what am I gonna do with this? And obviously coffee Pax is what I knew. So I was like, okay, how can I take AI and build? And initially I was like just gonna build this simple Q&A bot. Here's this information and like that. This was in late 23, early 24. And I said, no, we got to make this better. So I was like, okay, can I add the menu in it? And I remember I did it I did a concept. I literally, it was actually really funny now to think about it. I went and took the entire menu and I put in a prompt. The entire menu. And I was like, okay, based on this menu, I'm going to order. And it started like actually getting orders right and pricing right. And this was like, I think still ChatGPT 3 or 3.5.
Okay, so early editions, yeah.
So I was like, okay, it needs to be an AI ordering. So then launched Barista GPT was the name of the time. And then a lot of other things happened. I focused on Pax. I think we added 3 more locations after I launched that. So it was like a lot of growth there. The e-commerce took off, and e-commerce is a completely different vertical than you're just building another company within a company. So that was crazy. So I wasn't able to focus on it fully. And now, alhamdulillah, I'm able to spend more time on it. So then I pivoted because, I mean, ordering bots are fine. There's a lot of ordering bots out there. But what is actually missing, I think, from an operational perspective is AI across the entire spectrum, especially for a small business. So what we're building now are multiple small apps. Think like 37 Signals or like even Intuit that has like 6 apps under their belt. The first is still the AI ordering. We changed the name from Barista GPT to not Della, it was Sufra, which means a dining table in Arabic.
Okay.
Right, or the plates of the dinner in Arabic. And then, so that's the first one. The second one was Della, which is a knowledge base. So basically upload all your SOPs and your procedures, handbooks, and you have a RAG system on it. And then Morsel, which is kind of my personal favorite, because Morsel we just launched, and we're launching it a lot more heavily in Latin America, specifically Colombia right now, just to see how it takes off. Because the rest of the world runs on QR code menus.
Yeah.
Right? Here it hasn't taken off as much as you still get traditional menus, but a lot of the rest of the world, you're scanning a QR code and you get a PDF. So we built Morsel, and I initially vibe coded it to be like an Instagram and a TikTok. You pick your and that's personally my favorite. A review, we don't have a name for this yet, but a review management AI app. And then Hamad, There's one more that I'm forgetting. I forgot now. Anyway, there's one more. I'll come back to it.
This is like a Swiss Army knife of
But that's basically it.
applications
That's
here.
basically
Yeah,
it. Like the idea is because this was basically a revenge project, this pivot, because I really hate standard POS systems.
Yeah.
Like whether it's Square or Toast, like I hope they see this because I really don't
is
like.
this a Paul Revere moment? Are you shooting a bullet?
Yeah, I really don't like those systems.
Yeah.
Because they're not built for the small business. They are, but they aren't. Meaning their entire goal as a system is to be a line item on your P&L. So the bigger you are, the more they're gonna charge you, and they don't care.
Yeah.
Software fees are software fees,
Yeah.
and they do per user, per license, per
Percentage,
location,
everything.
all this
Yeah.
stuff. So you end up spending, besides processing fees, $2,000 to $3,000 a month for a company of our size on just POS fees, which is freaking ridiculous
That's a
because
lot.
like we're still a small business.
Yeah.
And like, what are you doing that's special? You're just scheduling, payroll,
Right.
right? Like you're managing the menu. Like that's fine. It's back-end infrastructure, but Toast is $1 billion company, right? So I'm building the opposite, right? Like commissary for me is gonna be a small fee. You either choose one app or all the apps. You use whatever app you want. Each app will probably be $10 a month. You want to use it, great. If you don't, great. I don't even want to make money off the app. I'm literally launching this as a vengeance against SOPs.
Yeah.
Because there's a way that, I mean, you worked in restaurants, right? Like there's a way like all of these processes can be streamlined with AI now. That are probably not accessible to your average mom and pop shop because it's either an extra percentage point on their standard software services or they just don't know it exists. So if I can get in and do this, great. And Morsel's the first one. Like that's like the one launched a lot bigger, and that's why I'm launching in Latin America because again the rest of the world is a lot more QR code friendly.
Yeah, when I spent about a month in Indonesia and about also a month in Vietnam, and I really love the cafe experiences there. Maybe kind of how you felt in Norway is how I felt about that part of the world, and everything was QR, and it was honestly so much easier.
It is easier.
But I'm curious, why do you think, because I was optimistic with COVID when we were going to QR, but it seems like people were not about it. Did you feel that as a business owner, and do you have any theories as to why the American customer or honored guest didn't feel receptive to it?
I don't have an answer. I don't know why. It's just I think it also depends on where you go. I think the higher end the place you go, I think you still want the paper because I think it tells more of a story than a QR code menu, unless it's a QR code menu done right. But I don't think anybody wants to zoom in and zoom out. And that's why
That's fair.
I think just like being able to read a menu, I feel is important. But for us, that's why we have multiple options. And I think to me, that's going to be how the industry goes. A paper menu, I still think is a better experience, frankly, even somebody that's launching a QR code menu. But having these different technological options for people who want those, like for example, all of our stores have kiosks, right? Not that we're replacing the cashiers by any means, because that's still a better experience for all intents and purposes. But somebody might not want to talk to anybody; they just want to get in, order, and get out, right? So that's there. And I think that's the direction I think a lot of people will start going. Is you have different things for different people, and that's true hospitality, in my opinion. Is you're allowing them to be comfortable however they are.
Well, it kind of goes back to one of the principles that you shared about when it came to food, right? If you don't have something that the customer, the honored guest wants, you lead them to something that they can have. And it seems like you're kind of having that same sort of philosophy in these different channels of ordering and technology in itself. So commissary, that the only other time I remember the word commissary is probably when I was at Disney World at Hollywood Studios, this in the Star Wars realm of it. And I was like, where can we go eat? They're like, commissary. I'm like, I'm not a soldier, but okay. Yeah. How did the name commissary came to be? Because it seems like all your product names have some sort of cultural element to it.
It was, that's what a commissary kitchen is essentially. Like whether it's like in prison, people go to the commissary to buy all their stuff.
Yeah.
In the military, the commissary is where you go when you like your kitchen or like you go get your stuff. And for a restaurant, like a lot of restaurants have a commissary kitchen where they cook there and deliver to their locations. So that was like, for me, like the light bulb moment was like, oh wait, this is basically like you could come in, get all your app needs here and then use whatever you want. That's where the name came from.
So as you're kind of exploring now going into the SaaS space, right? You went from serving, the everyday person to now you're going to selling essentially B2B. how has that journey been, especially going international? You mentioned Colombia is where you guys are testing out Morsel, is it? How did you open up those clientele profiles and going and approaching them, especially with, unless you know Spanish too, but there's a language barrier there as well, right? How'd you tackle all these challenges?
Team in Colombia that is managing a lot of that, and I think a lot of it's just brute force. You just email them and message them on Instagram until you start getting answers back and seeing what you get there. But that's basically it.
Yeah.
I mean, we just launched about 2 months ago, so there's still a lot of content that needs to be built around it, a lot of ads that need to go out, a lot of that traditional stuff. But there's nothing more valuable than just talking to people. So the team in Colombia is reaching out and messaging, emailing, talking to influencers that have those connections in the restaurants and stuff to get those sales going.
I mean, I really think it's so important that technology is built by those who use it. And, you know, when I was working at their sushi restaurant, there's so many moments where Toast or one of these things just breaks, right? And then getting a hold of customer support seems like it takes forever. I mean, I do agree with you. I think this definitely seems like a Batman situation. You're kind of coming in for the safe. So what is that purely what's driving you on this, and that's why your attention is to kind of keep it like a flat fee, not tap into percentages 100%. Or anything like just enough to keep it aflout and functional. Keep it afloat,
and if I make money off it, great.
Yeah,
I do like the 37 signals theory. Like Jason Fried's theory is a lot on this, because how he built 37 signals basically is that philosophy. It's like, here's Basecamp, here's Campfire. These apps do one thing and one thing very well. If you want more bells and whistles than Campfire, go use Slack. If you want more bells and whistles than Basecamp, go use Asana or Jira or whatever other project management tool, right? So for me, I'm using that same philosophy, right? Like this QR code menu app does QR code menus very well, right? Like if this is what you want, this is a great QR code menu app because it gives you a cool way to present your menu. It's very visual. If you want a POS, great. They have their own QR code menu, right? If you want AI ordering, right? Like this, Sofra does this very well. You upload your menu through Square and it starts talking to you as if you're ordering. There might be a lot of other ones that have their own models built on it that are a lot better than that. Great, go, right? But it's only $10 a month, right? Like it's not like so. I think that philosophy is really, I think, it's made my shifted my perspective a lot. One of the podcasts Leslie talked about it, and it's basically like this is an app that does one thing and one thing very well, and that's kind of the philosophy here.
Yeah,
and that's why I think it works for like small mom and pops, because at the end of the day, they don't care about bells and whistles. They just want
job done.
They just want the job done.
Right.
They want to be able, for Della, the knowledge base app, we get 100 questions a day on Slack, right? From anything from like what's the ingredients for this to what's the checklist for that. Well, if that was all in the AI, they can just ask it and it pulls it up. That solves a lot.
And I mean, saving $1,000 is make or break for a lot of these mom and pop restaurants.
Like it's a big
right?
deal.
And in terms of, I don't know the exact number, but like the average age for like a mom and pop shop in the US, I imagine is on the older end, right? So when it comes to making technology, especially cutting edge technology that's leveraging AI, what's kind of your mindset of making a product that everyone can use, right? What were some challenges that you discovered in the making process that like, okay, you know, a pho restaurant in Café, for example, that's owned by, you know, a 60-year-old Vietnamese woman who's running this solo, and it's her and her son. This is literally anecdotal to one of my favorite pho restaurants in DFW. But like, how do you make it accessible to them? Is that in that design process or mindset or?
Yeah, so my philosophy when it comes to software, and I've now that I've been a part of a lot of technology startups before this, and now I'm building my own, is you have to embed in existing behaviors, and you can't expect people to change their entire behaviors that are currently there. Meaning, if people are going to learn a whole new system, if this owner wants going to own a whole new system, they're like, no, screw it. Like, it's not worth it for me to go switch to do anything or add this to my workflow because I'm already spending 18 hours a day here trying to run this restaurant. Like, you're adding more complexity. So when you're designing, doesn't matter what the software is, it has to integrate into their existing processes. And I think for us at Commissary, and like I know exactly what the restaurant owner mindset is like. Like you're not thinking about software, right? You just want it to work. So if I could give you the easiest way to get a QR code menu up and running, it needs to be like, do it once and I only change it if I change the menu. Like set it and forget it type. Because that's the behavior now that it's ingrained in me. Like if I have to do anything else, I'm not going to sign up for it. And I think that applies to a lot of other industries and a lot of other SaaS products. Like how many AI products are launching now? Like you hear about however many every day, and you go in and they're cool. The other day I used one that was I forgot what it's called. I think it's actually Muslim owned, but it helps you design your entire brand identity.
Oh wow.
Which is cool.
Yeah.
But like that's such a deviation from existing behaviors of a startup, right? Like because if you're an established startup, you're gonna find a designer that's gonna go through the brand identity process, whether it's mood boarding and designing and all this stuff. If it's a startup just launching out, they just want something simple to just go and just put it on the website and go. Like they're not gonna care. So in my mind, like there's a lot of these apps that are coming out. Meaning for this one specifically, like now as an entrepreneur, if I'm launching, I'm probably not going to go to this first because one, most people won't know this exists, and two, it's still like I still have to spend time doing it. Might as well just hire somebody off Fiverr to give me something quick, or find a designer that'll do it cheap, or intern to do it cheap, right? Or if I'm established, then go through the entire design process. Meaning, like if you're building software, design for the simplest, the frictionless experience possible, right? And integrate into behaviors. And I think that's where people start missing a little bit, is they don't understand what those behaviors are first, and then how does technology solve those behaviors or help you better implement those behaviors.
Yeah, I think it's one of the analogies that are coming to my head kind of as you're explaining this, right? When you're building for everybody, you have to build with a mindset of the minimum amount of technology skill one has to implement it. And the analogy in my head is like when it comes to like I forget, like Iditarod race, I think that's what it's called, right? They always have the slowest wolf actually up front. That way everyone can actually maintain pace, and the slowest one isn't exhausted, right? And I think that should be, when it comes to leadership, oftentimes you have to have, if you want to move as a tribe, you kind of have to have that type of mindset, even when you're building a technology. And we're kind of coming at time here. You know, you've done a lot of things. You are, you know, you're doing all these things. What's like the next, you know, you kind of mentioned, you know, in 2019, someone had told you, well, you're going to do all these amazing things. You're going to have these many locations, have another business, right? And you're like, no way, right? What does the next year, the 3 years in front of you, what do those look like that you're able to share with us?
Yeah, well, alhamdulillah, I mean, now we're at 7 locations and e-commerce, like the business is running, alhamdulillah. So I have a great team. So I'm not as, I guess, like, I'm not as stressed about the day-to-day as I used to be. So that helps me think about other things. E-commerce is still a big journey for us. Want to grow that. And then as far as any other ventures, like commissary will still be going, like I'll still try to build that. After that, I think it's like what we talked about in the beginning. I think it's, now that I've built this for 6 years going on 7, and it's been a grueling process. Taking time and really like pausing and figure out what I want to do next. And whether it's writing, whether it's research, whether it's, I have 3 girls, so alhamdulillah, like spending more time with them. Like these last couple of years have been crazy. So I don't know. We'll see. But I know it'll be fun, and I know it'll be exciting. So I can't sit still for very long. So I'm sure we'll be going. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I guess you guys are both girl dads.
Yeah.
Think of it.
They're really big blessings, man.
Yeah.
I don't know what I do with a boy honestly at this point.
Yeah, no, literally. Inshallah, we're having a second one. So literally, everyone's like asking, like, "What do you want?" I'm like, "I know what I want." I'm like, "What's a bad one? That's all you want."
Yeah, girl or something else.
Amazing. Do you have any questions? Anything
no, I think. I do have one that's a little bit more macro focused. So, like, you're kind of creating this new venture that you're working on is very like different in terms of like the types of business that you're running. It's kind of like, how do I equip me as a target audience using some of the things that are coming out from a tech stack perspective, right? You know, and I see the same thing that you said, which is like there's a lot of these AI companies coming out. They're kind of like leveraging existing LLM models. Do you have a fear of like being out featured out there? Or do you like, what's kind of your thought process there? Because I think a lot of like AI companies that I've at least engaged with, like that's not something they're even thinking about, right? Or do you think that the restaurateur industry is like not like it's hard to gain those relationships and trust? There's so much friction involved that's not even a concern for like the next 5-10 years. What's your thoughts on that?
I think everyone will get featured out eventually, and you just have to build as fast as you can and launch and hope that you can. I think all of these things are like I think ChatGPT can launch an AI ordering tomorrow and integrate it. Like it's not. I don't know how much they want to do it. Like if Square wants to do it tomorrow, they could. If Toast wants to do it tomorrow, they could. What would that do for me? Like I don't know. I think there's still. I think a small piece of a big pie is still a really good piece of a pie, right? So there's that. As far as your other question, which was, remind me again, it was like the second part of the question, not about out featured, but like what were you saying again?
I think you actually answered it,
Okay.
which is like, hey, like if there's, you know, I think a lot of the companies I'm talking to, you know, they're creating AI products and they're targeting certain verticals, but I don't think they're thinking about a company coming out and essentially like out featuring them. Now, so to me, like what I think is like, okay, that's fine, but like, what's my competitive advantage going to be? Well, one, yes, build as quickly as you can, but like the value of any business is not the technology. I mean, yes, it's important, and it's a factor.
With the brand,
Yeah, if you're talking with, if you're integrated with 80,000 mom and pops.
Yeah.
In Latin America, and then you're expanding that feedback, that relationship is way more valuable than just the tech stack.
Yeah. No, I don't think the tech stack's a differentiator at all anymore, because anybody can vibe code anything these days.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So like, what do you like? What is the differentiator about your tech stack?
Well,
Unless you build your own model.
Yeah, I think it's more even about like, well, like let's say, like let's give an example. Like I said, Toast comes out with like their version of it. Well, it doesn't it's still, your problem that you're solving is still fundamentally different. They're still not going to address that problem.
No,
in fact, they might probably add it as an add-on and charge you more.
Yeah. No, that's exactly that's what they will do. Right. And then you're still. And then they'll probably acquire you because you're too big.
Yeah.
Which is fine too. That's not a really bad scenario, but I think for anybody building now, like you just have to launch quick and just get customers as fast as you can, and just figure out a way to accelerate, because time is like the way the SaaS cycles has changed so much. And VC money's changed so much in the last 2 years. Like it went from being open faucet to now like you're not getting anything until you're $1 million in revenue, right? And they're very particular about what they invest in, so you have to be we have to be aware.
Yeah, I mean, and part of that is just because like I think the barrier to entry for go to market is shrunk so much, right? Like if you're not being intuitive and using some of these tools to go get validation quickly, because like
if you're not on Replit coding something and then getting it and just trying to get one or two customers just right away, then what are you even doing? Like you don't have a startup.
I mean, it kind of reminds me of like a previous time period when the cost of running a technology product was so expensive because you needed significant hardware, right? To do anything. Like you had to spend like tens and tens of thousands of dollars just initial fixed cost. And then like cloud and all these other things came in where it just reduced the cost. So then you saw
it's happening again.
So you have massive proliferation of startups in the ecosystem. And then now it's like, well, you don't need a marketer. You don't need a technologist. I mean, I think at some point you do, right? If you're trying to scale, right? But to get your initial go to market and get initial traction and go further down that validation cycle, it's like someone can do that in a weekend, like legitimately. I've seen it. So it's incredible. It's an interesting time to like, from a technology point of view, to see like, okay, how are these going to be?
It's fun to see, but I do think that's where like people need this more, and this is where I'm more passionate about. Like you mentioned, like one other thing I do like this hospitality thing a lot, and I want to figure out how to apply it to other industries on a bigger scale. Because at the intersection of hospitality and technology and experience, like if you could figure out how to marry those, that's where the real differentiator is. Because I think with AI going the direction it's going, I think people's jobs are obviously at stake. I think there's going to be a shift back to physical in-person experiences and businesses, right? And I think that's where kind of your local coffee shop will still see growth, if not being existent in 10 years, because people will still crave that human connection. So how do you how do you blend all those together in a way that's very, very intentional is important.
Do you feel like, in my mind, it's like AR, right? With augmented reality, I think there's ways to, when a customer walks into the door, right? It could be their Wi-Fi IP address or something that pings because they've been a customer here before. You have the IP address, you have associate data to them, can notify the register right in front, so-and-so came in. Maybe some sort of note. This is what you talked about last conversation, because you have a mic at the register, and all that being tied in together, and then boom, your cashier knows how to greet them, what to bring up, what to talk about. Boom, you're leveraging.
We got our next startup idea,
right?
Let's go
All right, we'll cut that part out.
Let's go vibe.
Yeah.
No, but I think again, people think AI and technology replace people. I don't. I think it helps people do better, and I think that's the key to your point. Right? If me as a business owner can develop, I mean, look, hotels have it now, right? Like they have, but it's manual.
Yeah.
Right. Like, oh, this guest likes this, and this, and you go to the Four Seasons or whatever. They know everything about you before you walk in, and they know you want these type of towels at whatever, or and they have it in their notes, right? But that's all automated.
But I mean, ultimately, it's not really what you're giving them, right? And I think people get really married to the idea of, oh, well, I got to spend this much for the customer to feel important. No. It's just letting them know that they're being heard.
They're being heard
and they're being remembered. Exactly. That's it. They matter.
They're not just a guest that's coming in, checking out.
And that's simple as remembering their name. It really is that level of foundation.
Yeah. So if there's a technology layer on top of that makes it all better.
Exactly.
That's the key.
Exactly. Well, I mean, gosh, we didn't even get into fatherhood, because I want to ask about that. Are you good on time? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
How, because you're father of 3 daughters, you mentioned that, which I did not know. And so how is managing all of that? Because my God, I'm not married. I don't have kids. And, when we're doing this, I'm like, man, this is a lot. And I'm like, dang, he's doing it with kids and a wife. And you're doing all this with all of that and more. How do you make time for everything? How do you keep that regiment?
I think a lot of it, one, you have to have, like we talked about earlier, like a partner that's very supportive. So Suzanne, my wife, holds down the fort all day. Like, she's at home right now with the girls while I'm here recording, right? So that stuff like that matters a lot. The other thing is, I don't think there's a thing called work-life balance, especially as an entrepreneur. It's work-life integration. And because you could technically work 24/7 and the work never ends, but you have to realize when time is off, and when you turn it off, and when you have to focus on your kids. And for me, it was a learning curve, right? Like they're after school and before bedtime, that's father time. Like, I'm hanging out with them, we're doing whatever. But you know what? The other side of it, sometimes there is important stuff they have to do because of the work, and that's okay too. It's just, I think, always understanding when those happens and being cognizant, and not just overextending on one or the other is very important.
How old are your children?
We're in it, man. We're 4, 20 months, and we just had a month-old.
Oh, congratulations, my bro.
So we're in it.
You're getting outnumbered now.
I went to lunch earlier today, and it was.
That's pretty impressive, honestly.
No, we gotta keep going. You can't just
when it's one, it's easy.
Oh,
you can hand off, right?
One is easy at this point.
right.
Say
if 2, it's all right. You're one-on-one coverage.
3 is.
We can't fight back.
3 is, No, but I think that's what it comes down to. You have to know yourself. And
what are some of the things that you actively do? So one of the things that you mentioned is you turn off your phone, or you put it away, right? You're just like, hey, this is dad time. Post whatever time, 6 or 7, until dinner or until bedtime. Are there other things tactically that you're conscious about, how do you want them to be involved in the business, and Like,
Yeah.
are there other aspects of like how you want to like build that relationship with them, or do you
Yeah.
like guard it? Like, what's your thought process there?
Well, they're still young, so I don't really like involve
Yeah,
them in the
forward.
business. Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like I don't really involve. Like they know, like when they go to the coffee, like they know it's like Pax, and like they're excited, like they like that stuff. But I don't really get it. Like they're still young, but I also don't want them to. And I do need to work on this actually a lot. But I don't want them to see that stress side of the business either. Like I want them to be kids, because the kids feed off you. Right, like they're really attuned to your emotions, and if you come home stressed, like they feel it. And those days, like my daughter will come and like she'll be extra nice to me that day, and it's like it's not intentional that I do that, but that's something that I should work on a little bit more. But I think for me, my philosophy with them is just like let them be kids and let them learn, and I want them to be entrepreneurs, and I want them to explore, and I want them to try different things. And I don't know if traditional schooling is the way to go, and like honestly, like I don't
Yeah.
believe traditional schooling. I don't know if they'll ever go to college. Like, what are you going to tell somebody to do in 20 years?
Yeah.
Like, she's like in 16 years, like, or 12 years, like, 14 years, can't do math. 14 years, like, college is going to be completely different. What are they going to study?
This is
Right?
the exact conversation that we have, like I have with my wife.
Yeah,
as
like,
well.
what are you going to tell them?
I think we're leaning the route of like doing like our own self-schooling
Yeah,
or like some
yeah.
version, because like I don't know, I think like education's just one, I wasn't never a really fan of it, right? Like in general, like I did computer science, like pretty much learn yourself, right? Is like the mantra there. There are benefits to it for sure, right? It depends. But like, I think everything is going to be so personalized in education, and also the ability to like react to things is like shrinking. So it's more about what tool are you using and how well can you pick up something new. So like, yeah, in 15 years, like what's probably more important is not just critical thinking, but the sparking of the idea.
And
The execution is actually more likely to be there, but the spark, how can I teach the spark?
And do they understand people?
Yeah.
Like, how many kids are behind screens now?
Yeah.
And that's all they do.
Do you have a point of view on that? Like,
Yeah,
do you?
we limit. We
Yeah,
don't, we don't like we do some TV time. Maybe it's like 20 minutes a day, and it's only in Arabic, so they learn Arabic. But we don't do screen time. Like even when they're in restaurants where they're going crazy, we don't get the phones out.
Yeah.
Like, we're like, oh, this
I
sucks,
love that.
but like.
I mean, it's tough.
It is tough. Sometimes you
and
just need it, but like we try to stay away from it as much as possible.
everyone's situation's different, right?
Yeah,
like,
I'm not judging everybody.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
But like I've noticed, like my daughter, like when we have a similar philosophy, we really try to avoid like any screen time. Period. It's obviously harder now that she's
it's
older,
very hard.
but like but we see that she's so much more attentive to everything that's happening around her. She's way more communicative.
Yep.
Maybe the fact that my wife is a speech pathologist.
Yeah, she knows.
But,
yeah.
yeah, so she like picks up all these like things, and so it's like it's very interesting to like not use that human element. Like I think when I look at like a younger generational like group today, you can kind of tell that like it's harder to it's the ability to look someone in the eye face to face for like more than 10 minutes is like difficult, more difficult today.
So I think that's going to be where the value is.
Yeah.
If you can understand and talk to people.
Yeah, and communicate clearly and connect.
Well, like
yeah.
We're coming back from Florida yesterday, and I was sitting next to these two kids on the plane. They were on TikTok the entire flight. I'm like, this is like.
They're getting used to the $8.
You say that, but I've been on my laptop the entire flight before many times.
I hope you're working.
I was.
Yeah.
Not doom scrolling.
No, when you set like what is it, like flight time is like a me time, I was like, oh my god, I love the flight because like no one's bothering, no one's picking me.
That's your time to get deep work done. Yeah, 100%.
But I do think like the only reason I advocate for college or like education, the normal sense, is networking.
Yeah.
It is the biggest amplifying moment in your life, at least in my experience so far, where I got to meet the most amount of people that will go do a variety of things.
True.
And now meeting people, in my 30s, there's not resistance, but there's less opportunities to have that.
100%. You're right.
And I think relationships, building them now, there is a context of they want something from me, Whereas in college, you're kind of getting the opportunity to kind of invest in startups before they're cool.
Yeah.
Right.
You're becoming friends just to become friends.
Exactly.
Yeah.
One of the things, I forgot where I got this from. I don't know if it was from a book or anything like that, but it was kind of talking about how technology has shifted a lot of things. And technology is also knowledge accessibility. And we're talking about attention. This is the reason I bring this up, because I think it's a really interesting theory of how our behavior is changing. Back in the day, before information was, reserved to libraries or even the ability to read, people had a lot of time and a very high amount of ability to stay attention to details, right? So they were able to memorize and retain information. And like the Sahaba, right? They were able to memorize the Quran much quicker than how we are struggling nowadays. Of course, as we were getting, more accessibility to reading, more people were able to read, more libraries, eventually the digital age and all of these things. And now we're talking about, cloud computing and AI, right? Now we have the situation where it is really easy to build something, but it is your ability to stay consistent and dedicated and focused and giving your attention. Those characteristics is what's going to keep you away from the pack, because it is not a lack of tools, it is a lack of attention. And how do you train that? And to your point with your daughter, right? She's way more attentive because she doesn't have this history of going to the digital screen, which, there was a study that was done, I think it was MIT or Harvard, that showed like AI usage decreasing gray matter in the brain, right?
Which is actually scary.
Well, I get it makes sense, but wow, I didn't know there's already been
because you
studies.
go to it first to think. It helps you think.
And it's something, even when I see with my parent, like my mom, right, who's, much older, but even with her use of doom scrolling here and there, I'm like, Mom, you got to read a book. I know it's like, but you got to read a book, because, I hold this from my gym mindset to everything. If you don't use it, you're going to lose it. And I always kind of tie it back to, our belief is that gratitude towards Allah for the things that you have and the things you've been given are in multiple ways. One is acknowledgement of it, but it's also the use of it. The fact that you're able to walk is a blessing. You can be thankful, but go use those legs.
That's true.
But attention is going to be a key factor. Any closing thoughts?
All you.
What's one last final word you'd like to let people know how they can find out about Pax Beneficia? We can turn the cup a little bit, get it for the camera.
What you're PaxBeneficia.com on all socials, Instagram and TikTok. Commissary, Morsel has an Instagram page, and connect with me on LinkedIn. Is probably the best way, and I'm on Twitter and on Instagram. But
we'll have all the socials tied in that. Well, Mouyyad, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast.
This was a good conversation, really good.
Alhamdulillah, Allah give you more and more success, inshallah.
All of us.